Right, guys, welcome back to what we can now formally call the content review. Welcome back, episode 3. Yep, welcoming back Vincent Hayward to this episode.
Hello.
Vin, little quick introduction to yourself.
Yeah, same as last time. Nothing's changed in my career. Digital marketer, tech fan, gadgets, Star Wars, as you can see in the background, or for those who are listening. Everything tech, marketing, content, social, all that kind of stuff.
Exactly. And we, as I've always said, we can be forgiven for thinking of ourselves as marketing experts, which is why we're here. But more importantly, we have opinions. And there's things in the marketplace that we see, we enjoy, or we have opinions about, or we don't enjoy and also have opinions about. So each episode, we review things that have happened mostly in the last 7 days and just have a quick chat about those. So in this episode, Vin, I want to run past you, and this is purely a rumor and not something we normally do. I normally try and base it on facts, etc., but it comes from really what I call a reputable source, a developer who effectively working in the back end or using Facebook's developer tools. And bless you. And they came across a thing called simulcast. Now, it's a term generally banded around to make it so as you can cast on multiple platforms at once. And this was actually in context of Instagram and Facebook. As I said, I've not been able to find a single thing, not a piece of news, no press release, anything like that, apart from this one screenshot. Actually, I'll bring it up on screen now. So this is the screenshot that we've seen from a tweet from a user called Alex193A. And he basically was in the back end and obviously noticed this simulcast thing. So as I said, I've seen plenty of bits of software or third-party pieces of software that try to do this, meaning you can start streaming on Instagram and then it will duplicate that across to your Facebook audience and potentially other platforms. But with this new move to bring Instagram and Facebook closer, I thought it was something to bring to your attention and then get your opinions on it.
Yes. The way I understand it, like you said, it's just a leak and we can't find any more information on it. But the way I understand it is at the same time, if I went live right now on Instagram, I can tick a box and I'm streaming on my Facebook page as well, because you obviously have 2 accounts. I see this as a good thing. There's a lot of times where, I suppose a good example of this is stories. When you publish a story, you can tell it to go onto your Facebook page as well if you want. And I think the only reason Facebook did that was because no one was using the stories functionality on the top. So they give you the option to do that. I do it now, don't really look at the Facebook. So and that took a time to roll out as well. But this is making it convenient for people, because what we find when we're doing campaigns on the likes of Instagram or Facebook, yes, they're owned by the same company. Yes, they're social channels, but they're completely different audiences. A majority of people who have left Facebook have stayed on Instagram, but you still have your Facebook users. So you're now covering 2 people.
Yeah.
The cool thing I like about it as well is in the past when people have done live streams, like using something like Zoom, it looks like now you'll duplicate it across from one of your favorite channels rather than using something like Zoom. Granted, Facebook does have the live functionality, and it's only recently I've started seeing people do live stuff on Instagram. But now you're going to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. You're going to go live and cover 2 audiences. And I'm gathering, because again, these are all assumptions, the video is going to be stored afterwards as well. And for all we know, Instagram might be using IGTV with this because it's long form.
That's a really good point.
And then you've got Facebook Watch. So you've got Facebook Watch and IGTV are now going to get more content because people are going to find this. The thing is people have sought this kind of stuff because if you use something like Ecamm or OBS for that matter, or any live streaming channel, they all have multi-channel functionality because people want that. You might do some of your best streaming one night, but you don't want to be in a position like, okay, am I going to do it live on Facebook, but then upload it to YouTube? And so people want this, that they can mass produce. And there are tools out there that do it quite easily. OBS, as you know, because you've been teaching me, is a bit of a complicated beast in getting that done. But when you've got a tool that you can just log in, here's all my logins, here's all my accounts, start, and then just choose where you want that to go. And this is a similar thing to that. Facebook's making it easier for more creators to make live content on multi-channels. Also, the scary thing is, could this be a move to shut down the streaming, the tools that provide you multi-streams? because Facebook's renowned for doing that. That or even Apple for that matter, they can come up with an idea, change the API, and then the likes of Ecamm or well, not so much OBS, but some other streaming tool might not be able to stream anymore because you have to use Facebook's tools. Again, it's an assumption.
No, that's a really good point about them sort of closing off services. But I think I'd be really interested to see how this comes into everyday use for people, right? Because more and more people are using, the tools in their hands, the mobile phone or whatever, and being able to use live functionality, especially in isolation. My top of my Instagram is full of live sessions. So porting that across to Facebook for me makes a lot of sense. But I've seen, and this is a lot of this opinion has come from these third-party providers, giving the pros and cons for why you shouldn't be mixing your audiences. Obviously, they're going to, you have a lot of these third-party software companies probably a little bit scared right now, going, is our livelihood going to go away, and our options? But they're obviously playing out this idea of cons of actually they're saying you should be talking to a certain audience one way, another audience the other way. But for me, as you say, Instagram and Facebook, they're the same audience, because I will often duplicate across from, as you say, I'll share a story, I'll put it on Instagram, and without a second thought, it'll go straight on Facebook.
Yeah, there's a couple that, when you were saying that, it made me realize, because people are abandoning Facebook as such, or there's a generation that's not, they still want to have that content on there. Facebook is reliant on the content we provide them. If you think about it, be it something corporate, be it something personal with your family and friends, they need that content on there. And if people are just constantly pushing live on Instagram, but they're not doing anything on Facebook, they're letting their pages die a death, their groups die a death, and all that kind of stuff, Facebook's now going to give you the facility. And it goes back to what I was saying earlier. I love Instagram stories, and I'll do them if it's business related or if it's about my bloody dog sat down or something like that. But I will now tick that it goes to Facebook, because I know people who aren't following me, or my friends and family that aren't on Instagram, will see that. But I won't do it the other way around. I won't go to Facebook and post.
No, I absolutely agree.
There's definitely a facility here where Facebook's trying to get more content over, get more people, let other people see it, and it might go vice versa and things like that. But I do believe in changing content and changing things on different channels, all data-based. You do the research, you find it out. But like you just said there, at first, it's pretty similar content you put across your channels. Change a word here, change an image there, whatever it is. Sometimes you will find data that will tell you, you shouldn't be posting this here, you should be there. But this is an interesting move. If this thing's true, I think it's a good move. I think it'll be quite a powerful tool. Influencers on Instagram will use it because they'll be able to tap into another audience. That's kind of the take I have on it. But it'd be interesting to watch, keep an eye on.
I think it's this recent move. I think my next obvious question for you is, why do you think it took so long for this type of integration to happen? And I think that's been a natural cause. I'm maybe answering my own question here. Natural cause of I think, was it late last year when the original two guys that started up Instagram left Facebook? They left the group, and now you're seeing this kind of. They were probably quite defensive of their product because that's what Facebook essentially bought. And now you're just seeing this sort of mesh of cross-purpose functionality across all of it. So maybe, back to my question is, why do you think this took so long? I'm not sure your thoughts.
There's the obvious thing with rollout and beta testing and all that kind of stuff. We've seen stuff when new functionality comes out on Facebook or Instagram for that matter, it will roll out in Australia first, or some state in the US, because they obviously want to get the numbers. So it does take time. I do believe in what, like you're saying now, it's truly, they're integrating their platforms now. Like if you remember, I think it was a few months ago, all of these apps now, Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, when you open them, it says by Facebook. Also, I think I posted it probably a year or two ago, that it was announced at F8 that all the chat functionality across Instagram, WhatsApp, and Facebook Messenger is all going to be one. So it's slowly becoming this one, and it also taps into what WeChat does. If you look at WeChat in China, it does everything, every single thing you can imagine. This app does. It's all controlled.
It has
government, but
PayPal, e-commerce, all built into it.
and it's trying to make it's a be all and end all tool. It's a god tool, if you want to call it that. And these are slow functionalities. We know what happens on Facebook when they roll out a new, I don't know, the thumbnail has changed on your profile. Everyone's like, I'm leaving Facebook. And,
Well, I remember when Stories got rolled out. Do you remember that Stories went across everything? Went across Messenger, Instagram, Facebook. Didn't go across WhatsApp, but basically every asset they owned, Stories was just pushed to everyone, and it was a way of.
I mean, there's a form of Stories coming to Twitter very soon as well, where your tweet will delete after 24 hours and things like that. They had fleets, they're called.
Yeah.
But yeah, going back to it, the reason it was take so long is I just think it's rollout and testing. They've obviously Facebook, whenever you watch F8, they've got a roadmap. They've obviously got a lot that they've got to do. You know, they've got data to crack.
Yeah. Well, saying that, I do remember when they launched Stories, it was as a direct reaction to Snapchat, right? That was the big thing. It was around having.
They tried to buy Snapchat first, didn't they?
They tried to buy it, and then immediately afterwards, they're like, "We're going to do our own thing." Then, sod you. And I think it's in response to competition. Is this the same thing? Because as I think. For anyone listening, before we start the show, I have a little run through with Vin, and we go through a few of the stories just to kind of get a bit of a. Sorry.
Don't tell them that. It's supposed to be off the cuff.
Yeah, well, we have a little bit of a discussion around it, and I obviously let Vin know the kind of things I'm thinking about for the story and the format of the show. And actually, this week was probably going to be all Instagram and Facebook because of the sheer volume of items they've come out with, and obviously one of their big ones, we're not covering it in here because I think it warrants its own thing, and I'm waiting to see how it develops, is Facebook Gaming. They've just launched, and that's a direct competition to Twitch streaming and to YouTube gaming. And there's a load of functionality mixed in with this that actually helps understand some of the reasons with them enhancing their live functionality. So with Facebook Gaming, you're going to have live functionality there, and I think they've been porting some of this stuff across as they're realizing the benefits. So they're just basically saying, we've produced something over here, let's go and just shove it over into that thing there and make it work, because there's clearly a demand for it.
You raise a good point here, because that's going to be, I mean, again, I know we said this is for another discussion where, I mean, we can go down a rabbit hole with it, but that's actually a good point. So if you're an aspiring, let's say you're an influencer now, and you like you're really good on Instagram, you're doing really well, and you decide to get into gaming, you want to try it, you can now cross to you don't have to worry about Twitch and porting people over. I know some influencers have built their audiences off the back of that, but if it's a be all and end all, like your existing audience on this channel, you can do game streaming, you can do all that. It's going to be pretty phenomenal. But I mean, if we start looking at the streamer wars, which again, for another episode, Mixer, Twitch, Facebook, I mean, from the get-go will be a force to be reckoned with in this arena, just based on numbers.
They always said, I remember when Facebook tried to launch itself as the games marketplace, you could play games on Facebook. They were awful, which was the problem. But the storyline around it at the time was all about the sheer volume of people you've got on Facebook daily. The daily visitors, does that translate to daily players? It didn't. It didn't. We all know that because they had terrible games on there and it didn't translate. However, if you're talking about live functionality here and streaming, Facebook's got the numbers for that. So, and if you're putting it within an ecosystem like that, yeah, why wouldn't you? This is exactly why.
It'd be really interesting to see. I mean, like we spoke in the last episode about ESPN and, you know, going mainstream and all that kind of stuff. Facebook's probably thinking, we got to get our stuff together here, guys. We've got the numbers. We need to build a facility for people. But it'd be interesting to see how it goes.
Well, I think this is their strongest play so far, because usually they've done plays by acquisition. That's generally how they've worked in the past. Try to buy something. If they can't, then they build it. That was that Snapchat example. Yeah, exactly. And WhatsApp, purchasing that, by Instagram, all that stuff. So generally they've been not growing by acquisition, but generally that's how they grow their functionality. This feels like they could have bought some functionality in, I'm not sure. But generally the way they're launching it as a clean product, basically. There's no other branding underneath it.
Check it out. I mean, as you know, in our discussions, I'm an aspiring esporty. I'm about 20 years too late, but we're currently considering streaming on Twitch just for a laugh, just like the worst players in the world. But if this is there, and again, it goes back to, if you look at OBS, when you want to stream, you have to choose your channels. But now, yeah, it's going to be.
Yeah. I think if they've got the numbers there, and that's obviously where Mixer, as we know, doesn't have the numbers. But yeah, I think I'd happily watch angry old men playing on Twitch.
You don't want to. Thanks.
No worries. So that's that story, and I'm really interested to see with how long it takes for that functionality to come through, because actually with Instagram it's very quick, and actually now I think they actually have a backlog of things, because we've seen so many things come out recently. We've seen the new animate feature for stories, and we've seen stickers. There's quite a few things in their pipeline.
Boil down to the isolation and the COVID. It could be something as so simple as that. Like, look, people are at home now. They are using our products more. They are visiting family and friends on these channels.
Yeah.
Roll this stuff out now, because these people are not going to have time to play with this stuff later. It's going to be back to normal. I don't know. It could be anything like that. We're seeing it with our content plans right now. We need to get this out. We need to tell them about this. How can we make sure, it's that could be playing a role, and they've just sped up the roadmap.
I do wonder what sort of element Facebook rely on learned behavior for as well. So putting a functionality in front of people at the right time means that people start to adopt it faster, because they're going to be using it at home, as you say.
I wonder how Facebook get the learnings, because I mean, Facebook knows what you had for breakfast today.
I mean, they rely on people to have learned behavior. So so basically, if they put a functionality out and they know people will likely use it, as you said, during isolation, actually people adopting that and using it more and more, that becomes part of their process, as opposed to here's a feature that you don't quite understand or need right now. Right now, people are going to be looking for stuff just to do, and they're going to learn that behavior, start using it more and more and adopting it, and that becomes much more natural. We'll see.
I wonder if they tried to buy any of the others.
Streaming services.
Yeah, YouTube bought Twitch, didn't they?
Did they?
Somebody bought them. I remember there was a big deal. I don't know. Anyway, we're digressing into this. Is about this on a.
It's all about. I think live has a really, really important place currently.
I like the rawness of it. I like the fact that anybody can just pop up a camera and do it. You don't have to worry about editing tools. You don't have to worry about lighting. You're just doing something. It's raw. People appreciate that. The high-end production side of things is nice in that, but being live to quickly turn on. If you think about it, if you've got 200 people on your Instagram following you, and you've got 300 following you on your Facebook page, with one click, you're talking to your 500 people. Granted, the algorithm is there, so it's maybe more like 5. But it's
that's for another day. We could talk about the algorithm
on and cover 2 of the biggest channels in the world. And what more do you need?
Yeah, and obviously that's really my reason is, why did it take this long to get to that, to bring those 2 together? Maybe they thought there's an element of cannibalization, but actually, we clearly have people on Facebook who enjoy the platform, and people on Instagram who enjoy it for different reasons.
Well, like you say, right now, this is just a leak anyway. I mean, it's not even like an alpha or anything out there. So,
yeah, this could fade out to nothing and actually not even happen.
Yeah.
Well, let's put that aside, because, as I said, I didn't want this all to be Instagram and Facebook orientated. So I wanted to bring to your attention something I thought was, it's not controversial, but obviously some people will be really excited by this and some people will be really dismayed. So TikTok has banned under 16s from direct messaging. Okay. Now, that immediately my thought was, aren't the vast majority of their audience under 16s? Does this not take some functionality away? But at the same time, obviously, it's about safety. It's about making sure that these children aren't falling prey to attacks or
grooming.
Yeah, I was trying to avoid certain terms.
No.
Yeah. So, for me, it was. I was shocked to see it, because TikTok isn't that old yet that I feel that they warrant regulatory attention. They're not someone that's so well established. They are well established in people's lives, but usually it takes a little bit of time for the regulator to step in and suddenly go, right, solve this problem, and then they do something about it. And Facebook's a key example of that. They take a long time to implement something, and they'll wait for the regulator to tell them before they do something. So TikTok have taken this proactive approach to the safety of under 16s on their platform. And that, from a marketing standpoint, when I assume is your key audience, and I've got a stat here as well, which this is a UK regulator Ofcom survey from 2019 that suggests that TikTok was used by 13% of 12 to 15-year-olds. So of the population in the UK of 12 to 15-year-olds, only 13% in 2019 used it. TikTok was pretty big in 2019. It's only grown in the last 3 months of 2020 more. So I assume that number's grown, and it's only now they've taken action on that under 16s.
First off, it's lip service. They have to show the initiative that they're putting these things in place. As you know, in the UK here, there's a lot going on about like cyberbullying, the other dodgy stuff that we're not allowed to mention, but you know what I mean, and all that kind of thing. There's also, I get what they're doing there because kids are vicious, and TikTok especially is rife with. I've seen when I used to look in, go into there and watch some of the clips and try to get my head around the content. There is some nasty stuff that gets said, and there's even kids recording themselves like crying about the bullies and all that. So I think they're trying to control that, and it's a great initiative. But the PR there, we care, we're going to do this. But here's the thing, and this is from experience of working on Facebook and doing targeted ads and all that kind of stuff. How many of those kids are honest about their age on that channel?
Okay, good. That brings me to a very good point, which is you could put any age you want into these services. You could say I was
lip service.
Yeah.
They haven't done something. So if you remember a story a couple of months ago that there was some law was coming to the UK where you had to prove your age by credit card or passport to access porn sites. That's what they were going to implement. Now, this is our genius government who hasn't got a clue that anyone can bypass that stuff. These kids are smart. They'll work it out. I mean, you can VPN to the US and then do it that way. You know what I mean? You can do what you want. It's a brand or a company has to show their initiative. They have to show that they are putting things in place. They haven't put something. How would you tell a 16-year-old to verify themselves? And if they had to, how many 14, 13-year-olds would be talking to their mates? They're on Reddit or they're on
straight away.
And here's a way to bypass that age check. It's a story. It's a timeless story of like when you used to buy booze when you're underage. Kids find a way around it.
Yeah.
Some kids won't. Some kids will have parents who are in control, and you're not. Like you get the parents like you're only allowed a mobile when you're about 10. And you have a Facebook account when you're this, and I get it. It's all protection, and there's nothing bad on TikTok's part for doing it. But these initiatives, kids work it out, man. It's like yeah.
There'll be WhatsApp chats or whatever. Yeah, exactly.
How to bypass the TikTok.
Someone will put up a YouTube video literally of that within 30 seconds of saying, "Here's how you do it." Like because you can screen record your phone.
They do on YouTube when you upload your content. If you've got swearing, obviously it tells them it's adult content or whatever. And we were talking about him earlier, Logan Paul, for instance, who a few years ago, 2 years ago, had maybe 9-year-olds and 10-year-olds, has got more like an adult base coming through right now. But those other youngsters who are discovering him, you think they've gone and filled in their true birthday on their YouTube channel?
No, because as soon as you're asked that stuff, it's you're just going to bypass it. Absolutely, you're going to realize you're not able to see the stuff you want to see because your friends are talking about Logan Paul or whatever,
but pointless.
I find it interesting that these types of companies are taking regulatory so seriously then. Because usually, like I said, it's a wait and see approach. Let's wait and see what the regulator does, and then we'll make some sort of action. They've obviously taken some preventative action straight away. And we saw that in, and I've got some notes here, in 2018, Facebook introduced rules to make WhatsApp available to over 16s only across the EU to adhere to GDPR regulations.
It's... You could have for one, the regulator for one, how is he or she or they ever going to access the information about an individual on these channels? Because one, these are the same people that have GDPR running where you cannot look at private information anyway. So even if some kid's lying about their age, even if some kid has manipulated the system to get in there, they're not going to go in and say, this kid's behavior, he's not 16. He's acting like a 12-year-old. What is his name? Let's ban him. They can't even do that. They're not allowed to. It's encrypted data. It's, and it's just I sound like I'm frustrated. I don't mean to be. It's more, there's these initiatives in place. And a lot of times it comes down to, when it comes to regulating this stuff and controlling it, it's down to parents and things and access at home and all that kind of stuff. But these kids, they're born in this digital age. They're born, being given iPads in the pram, and if all the kids at school are on TikTok and you're not or whatever, they're going to figure out a way. I just think it's a wasted initiative. It should be better spent on, and another hard thing, like listening into like having AI or robots listen to conversations to spot irregularities, not actually listening to like advertisers would for some reason, but like looking for key syntax, looking for key moments. And we've got the technology to do that. I sound like an old show there. We have the technology, but
Well,
yeah, that's just my take on it. I could be completely shot down here on this, but I know this generation right now, these younger kids, they will beat anything. They will figure out, like Warzone we were talking about,
mhm.
Call of Duty, shooting each other, blood going everywhere, and all that. I'm a 45-year-old man. I'm on there and I'm seeing all this violence. I'm doing. You telling me that maybe 80% of the people in there are not underage?
I think like the game GTA 5 when that came out, that was 18 plus. But you would go on the servers and there'd be kids on there, 13-year-old, 14-year-old kids.
Film's red, isn't it? Like, oh, this is a 2 to 18 film. I mean, that to me, teenagers are like, yeah, we got to get a hold of that 2 to 18. It's
Well, so just going back to this then, on my issue is there's a TikTok are obviously paying lip service for a scenario or potentially behind the scenes something we don't know about has happened, and they're obviously doing an initiative to preempt something or to preempt them being pushed by politicians, pushed by regulators. Sorry,
covering their ass.
covering their ass, absolutely. And so I find it very difficult to get behind this as a safety measure because, as you know full well, and anyone working at TikTok will know, that they still have children on their service. They may not be or DMing, or but at least they won't get picked up because now they'll be going to they'll be signing up as a 20-year-old because they faked their age. And then there's no way of understanding the type of activity that's going on there because you won't be scanning that, or you won't be understanding the metrics around that pool of group of people who are 13 to 16, let's say, because they're just going to be in this other category in your analytics that you're not observing. So these actually, it doesn't help them understand where there's any kind of bullying or anything, any kind of illegal activity happening that shouldn't be happening on their platform. It effectively pushes the problem away into a data set that they'll never look at.
Yeah, but it's also if there is some scandal, if there is, because we know about all the scandals on social and what happens, especially with like the young kids and things like that, is they can say it's kind of like saying, hey, we had controls in place, to not allow this age group in there. And at the end of the day, the whole thing boils down to there's a little if statement on their site that basically says, if age is below this, do not allow. That's it. That there's yeah, I don't get frustrated. I just find it so pointless that you put these things in place. That's why I mentioned the government earlier with that probably bad example about verifying your age for porn. I mean, we all know every accent.
You knew quite a lot about that topic.
Yeah, mate, I've been doing it since 6. So. No, it's there's ways around this stuff, and there's probably heartfelt and good intentions behind this because they're not a malicious company in the sense that we don't care, we just want to protect our asses. But this won't stop a thing.
No.
It might maybe a few numbers go down or whatever, but
yeah,
John's going to tell Freddie, hey mate, I'm on TikTok, I can DM. How'd you do that? Check it out, and it's done.
Yeah, exactly. They're going to have their phones at school. Their mate's going to tell them how to do it. They set up a new account or whatever, and they're off. And like I said, they'll be
a 12-year-old, and all the guys are talking. There's some girl that you like. Somebody says, "Hey, why don't you DM her?" And you turn around and say, "Oh, I can't have DM. I'm not old enough yet, mate."
Yeah, you're just going to be like absolute mug. Of course, you want to do. Yeah. So I think, like you say, they're paying lip service. They're covering their backsides on this.
Do you know what's
it's not going to change anything?
Do you know what's dangerous here? And we're probably going on a bit on this segment. What's dangerous here is that a parent might read this, right? And they think, sweet, TikTok's got it on lockdown. They got my kids back. Great. This kid, they won't even know that this kid is on the DMs and doing his thing because they've read this article that TikTok has this initiative. So the parents that's not
they think it's safe,
savvy, or they just think that these guys speak nothing but the truth. They're not going to be clued up on it, and that's quite a dangerous thing.
Yeah, exactly. They're going to think that actually that's it's going to go into a group of thing, and they'll be like, yeah, this is okay for my kid to use. It would go into their like tick list of apps they can list. Well, TikTok's for kids, and unfortunately, it's not. And I know we've gone on a little bit longer on this segment than I would have liked to, but I know it's such a fun topic, but it's obviously just bringing it to the fore with these types of companies. As I said, it's quite a young company, but do you remember when there was actually a whole campaign for like old people not to be on TikTok. It was young people going, "This isn't your platform. Get out of here." Because you had like some grandparents who realized their kids are on TikTok, and then they got into it, and then you had this whole older segment on TikTok. And I remember there being quite a bit of like, some pushback from sort of
the digital circle of life of any given channel. Every single channel that we are on today started off with the youth. Facebook was hot, like everyone was on there. Then the aunties and uncles decided to jump on board. Snapchat, all the
oh
youth,
my god,
all your
yeah,
marketeers and tutorial people and mom and dad got onto Snapchat, and they kept going. TikTok, they'll move off it. They'll go somewhere else. It'll be big. You'll have people there. But the minute us old folk or boomers, or no, I'm not a boomer, I don't consider myself. But anyway, the minute we get on there, that's the beginning of the end.
Yeah.
They'll move to the next one. So it's kind of like the circle of life. I remember years ago we were targeting these age groups on Facebook. Now we don't bother.
Yeah,
You know,
not there.
yeah. So.
Yeah. Let's go to something a bit more exciting, because I think, regulation and TikTok, difficult topics, and obviously one that I don't think is really, as you say, was not really going to have an impact. So we just have to accept it, and I think move on, and I think everyone else has to as well. Now, I want to talk about something a little bit more upbeat and exciting. For me, I'm a big fan of fintech, and actually, something I saw was Revolut there, and I'm talking here about some community marketing insights that I saw coming straight from the marketing director over at Revolut. Just for anyone who's not aware of what Revolut is, they're basically you're a no bricks and mortar bank. You do no longer need to have a branch. You just have an app. You can trade currencies on it. You can have a physical card, and you can have a digital card, which basically is disposable. Loads of features that basically revolutionizes the financial services sector, for no longer having to go to your local branch manager and bank. And it's just been growing and growing. I think it just launched in the US earlier in the year, so it's something that's growing as an attractive, and actually I think will be something that people will move to. Imagine again, go back to that 16-year-old when you're first opening your first bank account. Are you going to go to Lloyd's, Barclays, whoever? You could well go to Revolut straight away. And actually, so the bit I wanted to talk about on here, I'm just going to bring this post up for us to look at. So this was a post from Chad West, the marketing and comms director over at Revolut. And I thought it was really nice that they were actually bothering to share a lot of their approach around how they have approached banking and developing products through community marketing. And that's what I wanted to discuss with you, Vin. So you've had a chance to read this, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. I think so. So for me, I mean, this is something that banks just don't do. Banks spend a lot of money researching. They have a lot of analytics in the back end anyway. And I actually know someone who does machine learning around credit card transactions in order to understand people's spending habits, etc. So banks spend a lot of money trying to understand their customer for the small margins that they make on these accounts. Whereas Revolut have clearly taken this different approach to having a much more, and they said here, craft a human-friendly and transparent tone of voice. That's normal sort of jargon for basically saying we want to sell you something without telling you that we're selling you something. But what they do have is these regular meetups for your customers, show them what's coming up and ask for them for their feedback. And I think this is a much better shift in terms of engaging with your audiences, your community, and doing marketing than has ever been done before. We've all heard of hackathons. They're pretty regular in sort of the tech world, but this is much more around showcasing your products in a really friendly way with your customers that doesn't feel like a bank is trying to sell you something at the same time. And I think Vin, I'm pretty right in saying, and from my experience anyway, letting customers see your product roadmap, that is something that's fairly rare. You usually keep that quite locked down. You don't really want to you don't want to set expectations in the wrong place, so you generally keep this down. But obviously they want to let them help you prioritize what they build and what they name things. Now that just doesn't happen in banking the way it works right now, or many other industries at the moment. And the next thing here that obviously features into the marketing bit, which is what we're talking about, ask your customers what they want to learn about in your industry and apply to your content or social strategy. So really there's this real huge outreach, and I think this is a real shift. There's been a few companies sort of doing this, but it's not it's not a very common practice. I
This
wonder your thoughts.
but this here is, I love it. I'm a big fan of the non-dinosaur bank. Both my business and my personal stuff runs through Starling. I have a Revolut card because of their crypto stuff and things like that. But the first thing we've got to consider here is these guys do not see their customers face to face every day. It's kind of like what we're doing in isolation. It's going to be over a chat, it's going to be over an email, all that kind of stuff. So they have to show some sort of transparency and build trust in another way. And that's building trust online, which is kind of what we do as digital marketers. Is that,
Yeah.
like, if I'm selling a product, you don't see me, but you need to know I'm pretty cool, or I'm trusting, or I'm transparent, and all that. And what they've done here is, especially the roadmap, and especially the asking us to name products and brand products, is something that we do in content marketing with community building. And that's to make your customers and your fans and all that feel like they're a part of it. Because once they are, and they've contributed, and they see something that they've contributed to grow, they become like vicious dogs in the protection of that brand. They become loyal. I'll give you an example. Right, we worked on a campaign a few years ago on a very low budget film that was made around motorbike racing, and wasn't very good. Very interesting. But what we did was we had to build this community on Facebook pages back in the day when you used to do these individual pages for films and things.
Yeah.
And we'd been told that a certain celebrity was going to narrate this documentary, but we decided to make the content to, like, ask the users, like, who would you like, to narrate this? And we weren't lying to them. We were giving them, we knew they would choose this narrator because the narrator is perfect, but we gave them a few other options around, a couple of red herrings, and they chose. And it was little things like that, so that they kind of, the film's been made,
they owned it, right? It became much more,
they get a piece of it. They're behind it. It's also
invested.
a lot of interest they have. Later on, I used to do community management for this when this was eventually going into Blu-ray release. So we'd done the theater stuff. Now we're going into home entertainment. When we did the Blu-ray, I did not have to do a bit of community management, because the minute somebody came on there and said the film was bad, or these racists don't know anything, that community tore that person apart. And as well as I do, as a social media community manager, you've got to bite your tongue sometimes, because you've got to look professional. These guys destroyed anyone. So going back to this is what they're doing. They are building a community, because that community is now feeling that they are part of it. And a lot of these online banks truly are. It's not just, we keep using this word, lip service. They're not just doing it for the sake of it. They want to hear from people. They want to know what frustrates them. If you look at the ads that come out of the likes of Barclays or HSBC, they do a full ad campaign because you can now freeze your card in their app, and you're like, well done.
Yeah.
Whereas these guys are doing stuff. I get notifications on my Starling, like, hey, we rolled this out last night, give it a go. Or here's a word from our CEO, like
straight from the app.
Name escaped it, but yeah, it's all there. My preferred method of customer service is chat. So it's all there, but I can hop on a phone call if I want. But it's just, these guys have got limited resources to get in touch with their community, and they want their community to be tight. And I can tell you, Starling as well, and probably Revolut, these are the ones that get spoken about a lot because people support them. I'm massive supporter of Starling. They've launched in Ireland recently. I told my network in Ireland, get involved, sign up. So hopefully I'll get commission for that. I don't know. But yeah, going back to it, being transparent on your roadmap, telling people what you're doing. As you know, Red, I'm trying to rebuild my community over on Mighty Networks right now. And everything I share is how I've done something. So you see this cool picture and it does this. Here's how I did it. Why hold back? It's you're sharing, your trust is that this person gives. And this also taps in, again, this might be a separate conversation, is one of the common conversations I have with clients or when I'm training is the algorithm, right? How do you beat the algorithm on any channel? And the simple answer is, and I think I've said this in a tweet, is to just give, then ask.
Yeah.
And that's all it is. And there's a lot of people who swear by this. Just give stuff. Like, it's the same with, like, when you've got an idea, put your idea online, share stuff. You would be amazed at what comes back. And whoever wrote this, if this was this person's PR person, content manager wrote it for them, the use of emoticons in there, or emoji, in there, I think it's a great post. I do a lot of threads like this on Twitter. I share.
I've seen those.
Think about it. I shouldn't share how I build a content plan because my competitor could use it and then go take my clients from me. It's not the case.
If that was the case, they'd be doing that anyway. So they'd build a content plan and then go steal your clients. But I
Well,
actually
you'll probably find Barclays content managers are probably looking at that and nicking it.
but no, but that's sort of my point. Is when I saw this, I thought this is fantastic. They're being very open and honest with this. But I can guarantee you, other banks will not be able to, like bricks and mortar banks, Barclays, Lloyds. They won't have the speed with which to adapt this. It will become laborious. Yeah, it'd be corporate. Trying to say to your line manager, I want to take out 20 customers who are advocates clearly of us. I want to take them out for a beer down the road. Can I have a £200 budget for that? Would you have to get that signed off by the CFO? What? It would never happen. These things never get off the ground in big companies because there's too many walls. So I think it's fantastic these guys share this stuff, and then because you just know it's never going to get executed. And my personal view on this is from my market research background, is that the type of research these guys are getting from these engagements, and bear in mind, trying to get someone to complete a survey is a bloody nightmare. Actually, if you've got someone super engaged, and I'm saying to you, will you please tell me what's right and what's wrong about this product? I'm going to get an honest review and I'm going to get an answer from them. Whereas I know that Barclays, HSBC, these guys are huge market research budgets to go out to audiences across the country to get a very beige view of their products and the world. And that's costing them hundreds of thousands of pounds every year. Whereas these guys are going to be getting some seriously good responses to people who are using the app every day.
Generational thing, I think, with those banks. So you're going to have your old school people like that. I mean, there was an interesting thing that was on a Slack channel. They were talking about like the old school banks, the facilities that people go in there. They were saying there's a certain percentage of older people used to they like to go to the bank because they want to talk to. They just want to have a chat.
Yeah.
They trust their banks and they're established. You can't expect a previous generation to us to suddenly say, "What, this bank has no offices." Like, what, you think they post cool content? Why would I sign up for them? I just want interest rates or something like that. Whereas this other generational thing, like let's say going back to my generation, your generation and things like that, we have other priorities. I want to know that my bank's got good functionality. They're tech savvy. I can plug that bank feed into my other tools to do stuff with it. I can, it's, yeah.
I want to go for a walk in the park and do my banking at the same time. I want to ask a question to a customer service person on chat and be in the park, not having to spend half my day going down to stand in a queue in the bank, trying to get an answer.
Because it's only open during office hours.
Of course, yes, of course.
So it's all, I always take the piss when I see some of the banking ads that come on, and it's a lot of them are playing catch up right now. I am terrified that one of these big banking chains buys up Starling
and ruins it.
Pretty much.
Yeah,
I know. I would hate it if I saw a Starling building down the road, or do you know what I mean? I'm like, no.
That's what Metrobank tried to be, right?
Yeah,
and they just transformed. No, I agree.
I went into because it always looked like a cheap shopping center. I don't know.
No, I'm with you. I never quite trusted them for some reason, and I don't know. I still can't get past it.
They were the best to get startup loans and good interest. They were very popular for a while in the UK startup scene because they were very good at funding people with very good rates. Right. Other banks wouldn't. And they were quite successful there. I could be wrong. I remember working with somebody and they were telling me about this. But other than that, I mean, yeah. The scary thing is because of the likes of the Revoluts and the Starlings, they're not established enough for like mortgages and all that kind of stuff yet.
Okay,
but when they change that world,
let me point out this way. So this show is all about it's called the content review for a reason. So I see a piece of content, but I also try and relate it back to my world, marketing, etc., and some value in there. So I see the huge amount of value in here, but I also see how this stuff progresses and where the value comes from in terms of some of this functionality for our industry, right? Because you're seeing something, and the bit for me that Revolut and Starling, they continue to bolt on functionality. And that means you just have more opportunity for content from their content marketing side because they've got more to tell the industry about. And they have that line in here: ask your customers what they want to learn about your industry. Now, obviously, if they're only doing banking, there's only kind of so much you can go. You can go for maybe 12 months and keep having something sort of interesting. But where they keep bolting on functionality for customers, you're going to keep having this need to educate the market around why their product is best. And that's why I love to see this type of way that it's presented.
The fact that they're sharing that roadmap, those bolt-ons, you're going to be excited. You're like, mate, I need this functionality to run my business account. It's coming, and so So
The biggest sorry to interrupt. The biggest problem with banks, from working in financial services, I know is engagement. The only time you engage with your bank is when you need to call them up because there's a problem,
yeah,
or
say that.
maybe you need to
You
transfer some
need-
money somewhere that you cannot do online or whatever. And that's banking's problem for a long time. Is when its engagement is touch points basically, and you don't have that problem with these challenger banks, or it's less of a problem because people care. I check my Revolut pretty often. I have friends who are on it, and I can transfer them money for dinner and things like that. They have many more touch points, and that's where content marketing is going to be so much more valuable to these types of businesses because they have that relationship with the customer, and they're obviously leveraging that by rewarding customers by saying, as you said, the roadmap, by having meetups, by basically just investing time in
Their
those customers.
content has to continually not educate, but inform, keep people in the loop. They have to do that because they don't. They probably being the newcomers probably don't have the marketing budgets that someone like these big boys do. They will eventually because is that Starling itself. Like I know somebody who works at the agency that looks after Starling and things like that, and they're just boom through the roof, like doing really well. But it's they also know, and Revolut as well, who Revolut, they're based on investors. Investors came in, got some money, set this all up. Now they want to get the word out. Revolut had some flack back in the past about some charges. I think it was something dodge about Revolut or their working condition. I can't remember what it was, but it was handled. They were transparent. They, but you wouldn't see HSBC doing that. You wouldn't see them, like you were saying earlier, just going on and pushing out some content like, "Hey, sorry guys, we screwed up. Hey, you know what?" It's
Yeah,
going to be more like if you look at clause 221/A, and you know what I mean, like.
it's exactly the problem.
That's the other thing as well about these banks as well. Go and look at their terms and conditions and their guides, and it's hardly lawyer speak. I've noticed it's very layman's term stuff. Again, we're talking about the brand, but we go back to the content. That post that you showed,
Hmm.
for me, that's it's not posting for the sake of posting. They're showing you, here's what we're learning, here's how we do this stuff. It's very meta because it's the social media guy talking about how he does social media, and you know what I mean. Like,
But that's the level in my opinion, that's the level it should be. You should be getting people at the top unafraid to talk about their strategy.
yeah,
Okay, and be open about it. There's nothing he's giving away there that you couldn't work out for yourself. If you sat down with a pen and paper and went through everything they did
yeah.
online, just reading their website and blogs and whatever, you could work it out. But the point is, he summarized it there and has got ahead of the curve and said, "I want to tell you guys about this thing, and I respect them all the more for it."
I didn't
And
see
on,
the numbers. How is that post doing
I didn't see. I don't. So it's got 675 likes and 33 comments.
now from a bank? Do you know what I mean? Like, in comparison, like it would be. I mean,
Oh,
that's
that's a good comparison, actually, because I hadn't really put into that context of a bank trying to get engagement online,
yeah.
especially LinkedIn, because it'd be
Bank's gonna post on LinkedIn, "Hey guys, our new business account has an interest-free rate," or blah blah blah, and everyone's like, "Sweet, move on."
yeah,
You
next.
know what I mean? So yeah,
Yeah, so for me, and just on that note, this is not sponsored by Revolut or Sterling Bank for that matter. I'm gonna have trouble with the.
your account details and
So for me, as I said on this show, it's about content review. So I have to always try and bring it back. But that for me was a great piece of content I'd seen, and it had a real world application for a lot of marketeers out there who were trying to be doing this sort of activity and just looking for a guide. I would take this myself and go, actually, that's a really
I
good
was gonna
guide.
say,
So
I would recommend to your listeners or people watching the show, seeing the example, is to embrace that sort of posting. Is to, and especially, I know this was LinkedIn, is to start doing threads on Twitter, and every tweet that goes under that thread is you're giving information to someone that's going to make either their day better, more knowledge, or help them achieve something.
yeah,
And you would be surprised the engagement you get, the audience growth you get. Just keep doing that on any channel for that matter. Well,
yeah.
not Facebook because the algorithm again, but especially LinkedIn. LinkedIn's quite easy to kind of cut through the noise, but that kind of stuff, writing it up with some emojis or whatever it is, and just give punctual stuff. Here's what I'm doing. Here's how you can do it. Do you want more of this? Here, you can get it here, and do that. And then later say, I need your help. And
Yeah,
the return is insane.
I absolutely give. You're absolutely right. Give, and then ask.
Yeah.
And as the last point says on this guy's post, avoid burning cash on ads. Remember, your customers are your biggest marketing channel. Help them tell their friends. So that for me is outreach marketing, right? So, but avoid burning cash on ads. This is exactly what he's doing here. He's not spent any money on that post and just shared it amongst people on his network.
Would be interesting though, not to shoot them through, because I've just been praising them, that if we were to run some checks, that they probably are running some paid search. They probably have a couple of Facebook ads out there. It might be
Naturally,
referring to not running on LinkedIn, which is a good shout because LinkedIn is overpriced and performs crap. So
there it is. There you go. Okay, so moving on from that piece of content, I do have something a bit more techie, a bit more more techie than online banking. But and now, Vin, I haven't shown this to you yet because this is something I've seen kind of developing as a trend. For me, it's a bit of a photography killer, in a good way, because I think photography has its place, especially in marketing. You need promotional shots, etc. But what's the next evolution?
that was a big intro.
Yeah, I think.
I'm up now.
So this company work with a lot of CG. Now I'll play this for you. They talk a lot about virtual locations, so this is very relevant for right now. Imagine this is pretty much a game engine. Can you see that? Yeah. The environment is entirely computer generated. So what they've got here is models, but then they've spec'd it up to such a high quality that they can give you complete freedom for camera angle selection. Right, so they're just going to move it around, change the shot around. So any photo shoot like that is going to take a serious amount of work. You'd have to move the car around. You have to get the right lighting conditions. You have to get permissions at the property that you're using to keep shifting. And they even talk about time of day. So look at these angles. You can just move around the scene seamlessly. So if you for a product list, and let me just say these models, you can buy these models of the cars pretty easily, and then you can just change whatever you like on them. Suddenly your product marketing or your product photo shoots,
Wow.
so you've just seen what they're trying to get at here is this benefit that you really get from the way that they do this software use. Okay, now they're really showing this, and this was an actual piece they did for Mustang, for Ford Mustang, and they're showing how it all comes together and the shots they were getting. So you'll see this. Here we go, foreground building grid. So they create everything themselves and then add to it. And then realistically, can you imagine sitting with the client, and the client goes, "I'm not really a fan of that color or this or that," and you can just start to change it and tweak it, and to the point where you get something that is photorealistic. And then the client wants something else for a different day. You take that model, you shift the time of day. For me, it's phenomenal.
That I agree with what you're saying about. Well, no, let me take that back. I don't think it could kill photography because I think that's a talent. That's an eye for detail. The reason I say this is I've worked in a content company that made adverts for cars and stuff like that. And I've seen what goes into an on location shoot. And then you've obviously storyboarded it, you sent it to the client, they've approved it, you've gone out. But then there's that kind of that gamble. Was it the right lighting? Was it the right this and all that? And you can imagine the money that goes into this, especially a lot of it is in exotic places. It's on the salt flats of wherever, or it's on some ocean somewhere or some meandering hill, like most car adverts. But this here, if this is as quick as it looks in that demo, because I mean, honestly, I hadn't seen this before. This is, you could be briefed in a meeting and storyboard that in that meeting and then just walk away while it renders. Do you know what I mean? And it also taps into the usual thing that most designers get from clients. Can you make it a bit more blue? Can you make it pop? Or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There is a similar thing like this in Adobe right now. I used it a while ago. Oh, Christ, what is the name? It's like Adobe RT or something. It's one of their little hidden tools.
I've never heard of that.
Well, I'll get the name of it. You put me on a spot surprising me with this video, so I'm trying to think. I'll try and think of the link of it. But it's kind of like, it's a very simple 3D rendering tool, and it has shapes like bottles, shopping bags, gift wrapping, and all this kind of stuff. And you can put it in any environment that they provide for you and then label it how you want. So let's say you were doing product testing or package testing and you wanted to do that. You can do it. You can add effects. It's a rainy day. You can do all that kind of stuff. You can see it is a bit 3D graphic-y, but quite realistic, not at the level you've just shown me. This stuff over here, rather than photography killer, I think would be agency killer, if you ask me.
That's a really good. That's a really good point. Yeah, because
I
the
could run this at home on my desktop here.
so that I do know there is an element of I don't think it's as fast as they were showing there because that's a
No,
demo video.
no 3D. You have your rendering, but
It's
if you
there's a
run that
rendering.
machine,
Yeah, there's a rendering process to this. There's obviously a whole workflow that goes into it. But that's a really good point. I hadn't thought of it that way around being an agency killer because you're completely right. The types of shoots these guys put together to do, as you said, exotic locations, etc.
20 people on that shoot.
Yeah,
What we've got here is a 3D renderer graphic guy doing it, and maybe a director or what do you call them on the films? A photographic director.
yeah,
A bit of
DOP.
light there, let's get the render down, all that. It's a one man, two man band, and you're going to see if this software, if they licensed it or if somebody got it and they became qualified in it or they were a pro at it, you're going to find and it kind of taps into what we've spoken about in the past about fake news and deep fakes and all this.
Hmm.
It's like, if you think about it now, we're going to be looking at imagery and how are we going to distinguish? Like some of that stuff was surreal and especially for the car industry, but I don't think it stops there. It's a chocolate bar from Switzerland. Somebody in London made it, but now it's in the Alps. And these guys, I don't know. You didn't say. I'm gathering that this might move into video.
So I have seen them replicate stuff in video as well, and it looks quite good. It looks quite. It's effectively you're taking game engine software. Like I've seen stuff like this created in Unity, which is often used for game engine use, and I've seen it used in there. But I think I've seen different types of software for this now because usually you use a couple of different rendering softwares to rendering softwares. What am I talking about? Usually use a different couple of rendering applications for different things. Sometimes if you want to add some different effects to things, you might run it through something else. But generally, these guys have been creating photographic imagery for print, maybe for magazines, for billboards, that sort of thing. So imagine resolution-wise, you can make it look as crazy as you want, and you can add different models.
Yeah.
Exactly, you can use any kind of models you want. And I'll flash on screen here. There's actually one here with different models in the backgrounds. They've got an airplane, different things like that, trees. And I've even seen it where they've taken actual locations. So somebody provided a background plate, so a shot of the wilderness somewhere, and then they've overlaid their model onto it and then color corrected to match the scene effectively. So they're using real locations with a model car on top. And then suddenly you're not having to rely on rendered backgrounds. There's the opportunity for this is huge, which is why I was sort of saying photography killer in kind of in jest, because I do think there's a time and place for that sort of thing. If you want to have models, humans in the scene, it's always going to be easier to photograph them and to get their reactions naturally, as opposed to trying to 3D render a human, which is actually a real painful process. And we can generally tell when something's been rendered. But this is, in my opinion, one of the great ways I think that some of this technology will be used to create. And as you say, this has been used for cars. There's no reason it can't be used for any other product.
I'm thinking one thing we forget to mention though is this technology has been with us a long time. Maya, like you said, Real Engine, it's been there for a while. I'm thinking that these guys have got something that's like quick and easy, and all the engines like Maya. If you're doing photorealistic stuff, takes time to render. The stuff has been there, exists. When I realized when I asked that they're going to do this in video, and I'm thinking we do it already in CGI and films and things like that. But this looks like it's a service where they've built it. It's a nice user interface. It's done. You can build it there and then, and they can create all these environments. The technology has existed for a while. I just think these guys have said, "Hey, we can package this better." And here's
I think so.
The demo that they show is amazing, and I wouldn't be surprised that they've done that, obviously, for the car industry, because whoever's in that company probably knows the cost involved in doing a real on-location shoot with the team, the car. I think they've probably got 3 or 4 cars out there, and they've got to get them out there and ship them out.
Well, exactly. Yeah, you've got to get stuff to location.
You're going to find a lot of cameramen, a lot of photographers, a lot of on-set people and all that are not going to like this software because they're not going to get their trips to Hawaii to do these shoots and things like that. But who's to say it wouldn't, I know there was something a while ago, maybe you know about this, and it's this weird looking car that doesn't really have a top. It has a lot of 3D sensors on it. It's the size of a car, and they can drive that around and film it. And all
I have seen this. Yeah.
they can go into the 3D rendering software and put any brand of car on that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they would sell that. Like they'll be like, hey, they'll have this car, this setup in any country in the world. They'll have a
Well,
couple.
they'll get the physics right on it.
I'll phone them and say, hey, have you got one of those in Hawaii? Yeah, cool. Could you go down to the beach, film this, blah, blah, blah. Sweet. Send us the footage. They get it. The guys like Audi or Mercedes who've got the 3D models,
Hmm.
high definition models, just slap that on and your advert's done. So that my point is the technology has been there. These guys are just packaging it really well. And I still stand by that. This kind of stuff is an agency killer, or maybe we go in further and say agency budget killer. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. I actually now, yeah, as I said, you've hit the nail on the head for me. Those budgets are huge. Usually, as you say, it's 20 people involved at different stages. Go into location, get everything shipped out there, getting the car in location, all these different things. I want to show you this real quick picture on screen here, and this is the Porsche Macan. You can see here the background.
it's real, doesn't it?
It's real. There you go. There's the graphic loaded on top, and then they just color correct for the scene. They crop anything else out, like these people in the bottom left here, and there's your scene done. They do that all the time to the point where it just
That background 3D rendered as well.
no. Oh, actually, I think potentially this one is, but I don't think this one was. I think
Wow, so if you want to make money on stock photography now, just go and take pictures as if there was a car there, and then you've got background for them.
Yeah, so just back to your point there, we missed that bit, but around stock photography, exactly. So people are combining these technologies together and making some really cool end products,
Yeah.
and I'm really interested to see what's next. But obviously, if you're going to do anything, you might as well do luxury cars and get all these different things. And back to their original video, which is around lighting, locations. It's even more relevant now, where you can't get a film crew, photography crew out to a location. You can't fly them there. They can't be within 2 meters of each other. So it's not going to happen. And that's really what they're playing on at the moment, is this idea that they can do any shoot, any place, any location. And it may take them a week to render it or sort it all out or whatever. But you're going to have something that is pristine.
4 months to plan a trip there. Do you know what I mean? Like to get the permits, to get the land thing. You probably got to pay the people that you're filming the land on. Do you know what I mean? Like, so
all those costs evaporate. Yeah. Exactly. I knew you'd like that one. I think that's a really good piece of content, and a really new way to approach that sort of stuff. Okay, we're on to our last subject now, and I think this is back to. I don't try and purposely bring this back to gaming every time, but I just think in terms of where some of the technology is being best applied is often in these games. We've also seen photography being used in rendering software to great effect. Last week we also saw ESPN and League of Legends, so I don't try and always make it game related, but this was the last one, I promise, will be... this is something that obviously happens within the last 7 days, and this is all around Fortnite. And I recall seeing this done before with the first one and being amazed. So the first time they did a live event was with Marshmello. I'd never heard of the guy, and I didn't know what his music was like, and I came to like it, unfortunately. But they did a live event, and that really struck me as something completely different, because you had so many concurrent players all being shown the same game at one time, like a live event within your, you're on your PlayStation or you're on your PC or whatever. And they've just done it again with Travis Scott, and they had a record for the most concurrent players. I think it's around 12.3 million concurrent players at one time. And this is, for a content sort of perspective, it has a whole lead up to it, and it has a huge event, and it has a huge amount of follow up afterwards. And I suspect it's one of the ways that is going to change a lot of the ways that people show their live events, or at least try to promote their content, will be via these types of platforms.
You and I talk about Fortnite a lot.
Too much.
Yeah. I've never been good at it. You are. I'm trying to get you over to Warzone, but different discussion. But the one thing that's fascinated us about Fortnite is their content and how they roll it out, how something goes wrong on the map, which then leads to a bigger story, or you'll see something in the sky and there's a big video for the next season that's coming. And I love that. And for the record, Warzone is going to start doing that as well. There's things happening there, and that their content is great. But the thing that's happening here is we know Fortnite has got some serious numbers. And there's been, these concerts haven't been the only one. The last Star Wars film was promoted on there for a while as well. Everybody got skins, but they even released hidden scripts and spoilers from a film that hadn't been released yet in
Yeah.
Fortnite.
Yeah.
Like, that's how powerful the thing has become. Virtual concerts, though, one, probably a good time to do it now.
Mhm.
We've spoken on 2 episodes now about what people are doing on Zoom, so probably wouldn't have been relevant to do it on there. So how can we do this big and that kind of stuff? So Fortnite was something they wanted to try. Now, interestingly enough, probably, God, 10, 11 years ago, I worked at an agency, and I didn't work, but there was a team there that did a campaign on Second Life. If everybody remembers Second Life,
That is old
um,
school.
I don't even know if it's still going. But
Some
Second
server
Life,
somewhere.
they arranged for a brand to sponsor a gig. They did a Duran Duran concert in Second Life, and this was promoted. It had the whole thing back in the day. Then in Media Land was all about media firsts and this amazing tech and what you can do. So we would always, whatever the coolest gimmick was, we'd shove that down the clients' throats and things like that. And this client bought into it. I almost said their name then. This was promoted, PR'd, featured in the news about it. There wasn't social media too big at the time, so we didn't really talk about there. Big promotion. 2 people turned up. Like,
What?
2 people. There were 2 people at the live gig walking around, and a flop of note.
That
Now you
must have
look at
been.
that to now, to
Yeah.
12 million. Look, somebody who's listened to this, whoever worked on that campaign, might say, hey, it was 10, not 2. I don't know. I heard 2 in a conversation. So don't hold that against me. I haven't got the report. It's been a while. Anyway,
Yeah.
but then you look at this now, that people are doing this because it's just changed so much. I watched the video. I watched the Travis one, and it's very clever what they've done there. It's obviously, it's still got that Fortnite theme with the, people's characters and things like that. But a lot of people are also saying it was showing the power of the engine that runs Fortnite. And what they can achieve with it from camera angles. Because Travis was quite giant walking over the map, wasn't he?
Yep.
The way they did it. And it was cool because it wasn't a typical set. It was really
Physics
good.
engine.
It was really good what they did. And I remember it was really good when they did the Star Wars one as well. And I think this is something like what's happening now. It's a land grab for this kind of stuff. So if you look, for instance, I've had 2 concerts cancelled on me because of COVID. And I don't think I could stand to watch another favorite band of mine doing an acoustic cover of one of my tracks in the back of the garden. And it's like, shit, now you're real. You're not this rock god,
Yeah.
So these guys are really clever with Travis Scott. It's like, we've got to do something big. Where are people there's probably more than 50 stadiums worth of people in this room. How can we do it? Fortnite. Let's do it on Fortnite. And there's probably some research with his marketing team. His audience are probably on there anyway, so it probably worked for him. It's not like you're going to get Taylor Swift on there. So
Is hoping.
yeah, very clever move. And it might be now's the time if you're in a music act or you've got big budgets or you're somebody bigger, is what else could I do? What should you do a Twitch of a live gig or
Mhm.
I don't know. But the thing is, what was quite cool about Fortnite is that if you look around and there were all the other people there, it was like you were at a concert because there were people there. They were walking around, they were dancing.
Well, people were watching this, with their friends. You join a 4-man squad and
Got
you're
that.
there with your friends. Yeah,
Yep.
you're experiencing it with them at the same time, and that's exactly what they
Travis
wanted.
Scott's big. I mean, he's massive, so he's obviously going to get watchers. You'll probably find if you look at the numbers, there was probably another 10 million people playing Fortnite that weren't interested in it.
Well, I think now they've made it. Yeah, potentially. I'm not sure if you could still get servers because I remember one of them you could only do that mode. So they basically make it so as you have to watch this thing because Fortnite has switched, I think, from being a game developer to being an experience. They sell an experience at the end of the day because now you can buy stuff on there. You can have the shows. People are more excited about these live events at the end of every season.
Since I played it, then
Yeah, it's because I think that's where they're moving. They're becoming more of it. I mean, that's where a lot of the money is. These games are free. It's a free game. Same with Warzone, free game. So where do they get the money? The revenue is from anything you buy. So engagement is super important at this stage. So if you're having regular live events,
sorry, Red, carry on.
no, done.
You also got to think about, right, is PUBG was the original battle royale, right? Or was it?
Sure.
Or which was?
Yeah, there was H1Z1.
That was
and
it.
then
Right.
yeah.
So I don't really know the games, but they established the battle royale. Fortnite owned it, like they turned it into something massive, or whatever. But now all your AAA titles, like your Call of Duties, your be Apex Legend, are using the same engine. So a lot of your players are going to start going away and all that. the likes of COD, who have a paid subscription with Battle Pass and upgrades and things like that. And Fortnite's always been free. And so, just like a social network, just like a social channel, they need to bring people back for a reason. So I might pop into Fortnite tonight and I'm still getting my ass kicked because I'm crap at it. But I'll be like, oh, what's this? You know, and venture in there. And it's another way of delivery. And it's kind of a virtual world. Like if we're looking at World of Warcraft kind of level, Second Life that we mentioned earlier and things like that. These people live in the Fortnite world and they live in lobbies and they talk to their friends in there. And it's a kind of it's a completely different genre, but same principle. You have an online presence, you have a character,
Absolutely.
you meet up with friends, you have a certain clan that you stick with.
You're invested in it.
Is wanting to put original content so that these guys stay. So you're going to see some exclusive gigs in there, some exclusive tracks, launches of films, all that. Very clever move.
It's because before you would have just launched. I mean, the latest Star Wars film would have launched with some adverts, some pre-roll on YouTube, some stuff on some regular brand tie-ups. Now, and that's in some ways it could be the downfall of Fortnite. They've gone too heavy because a lot of their development has gone towards these huge events. If you've got this thing that's going to make you several £1 million, you're obviously going to throw developers at it to get it done on time because it's under contract, as opposed to developing the game. So there's this kind of playoff, but actually for content, it's huge. You're just getting this constant narrative, and this is what they call it. They call it narrative style live events, and that's what's coming to Warzone as well, because they realized it's about attention retention. You need to be able to keep people's attention coming back time and time again. As you say, you may only jump into Fortnite every live event, but they still get you there, and you may spend $30 on something, $10 on something. They don't care. You're still getting money, and effectively that company is paid for that to be on that platform.
Yep.
So they get paid either way.
There's a lot. I mean, a lot of the stuff, if you look at the thread of the stuff we've spoken about on this episode as well, and you look at all of this, and it's a lot of people are making moves quick. People are making things happen quick. People are having to see what can we work with to get stuff done. Now, granted, the Travis Scott stuff might have been planned months ago.
Yeah.
Not just because of COVID. I mean, I don't think after watching it, you could have turned that round in a couple of days. But with all the press that it's getting, 12 million?
12 million.
You're going to see a couple more on there. You're going to start seeing packages. You're going to see partnerships with Spotify. You're going to see, because Fortnite's proved the numbers. We're not just a game, like.
I think that's where they're moving to. They're not just a game anymore. They're a platform they've commercialized their game.
If they did some sort of like, I'm just guessing. So, I've never really been a fan of in-game advertising in the sense like they used to do it back in the day. Used to work with a company under Microsoft where you would have like a movie poster on a wall somewhere.
Yeah.
And an impression was counted on a cube. So if you walked past it with your character and looked at it, that was maybe a split second. If you came back, now it's 1 second. If you got to 3 seconds, that was counted as a view. So that's how you got impressions in game. Didn't do a thing for your brand. One, the person's not going to click and go out of the game for it. Two, you're interrupting their escapism in the game. But now I'm thinking, if these numbers are like what they're doing on Fortnite and they decide, hey, let's do a self-service ad server like Facebook has and, Instagram and Twitter and all those guys, where I can go and advertise and somewhere in the game on a skin, my brand's going to be, or somewhere on a unicorn running down the hill, my brand's going to be. But I think we might be far away from that because the problem is with in-game advertising, it interrupts the fantasy. Be interested to see what they're going to do. A lot of times these guys start off, Facebook did, all of them, they start off and the big brands can pay to be there. They can pay to play. Then as soon as they open self-service, anyone with 10 quid can get straight in.
I think
what happens.
Yeah, I think they'll hold off from that because I think they won't want to do pay to play because they know full well the value of theirs is by having high ticket signups with brands like Travis Scott. They had Michael Jordan, like the shoes. They had the Jordans on there as well. That was a whole game mode. So effectively, they're not trying to interrupt your experience. They're only trying to enhance it, which is why these live events are entire things where you cannot do anything else but enjoy this event. So they've actually found a way around that impression element. They're saying, we're going to get you 12 million people all looking at your product or your thing for the next, let's say the event lasts 15 minutes. That's exactly, dedicated. People will be talking about it. and that's all you bought. So I don't think they're going to do anything more than that. I'll be really interested to see how Warzone adapts this as well, because from what I understand, I haven't played it, and from what I understand is there's kind of a narrative style at the start of every season, but they're hoping to include end of season and much more like live events in the Fortnite style. So I suspect then, attention retention is the most powerful part of this. People are being showcased stuff they really enjoy, they really want to interact with. And just to summarize this entire episode, being live has clearly been a really strong part of this, but also you mentioned earlier about the fact that the rate at which people are executing this sort of stuff and actually bringing this stuff to the fore very, very quickly and doing it very successfully in these areas. And I don't think that's going to stop, because the formula is pretty rock solid, unless, as you say, they do something really stupid and go out of their way to just focus on the money as opposed to the experience, especially with gaming, especially
is heavily community driven. You know what I mean? There's a lot of supporters there. I know Fortnite gets a lot of flack, but it's also got its loyal people. And if you alienate them, it's the beginning of the end for you. So yeah, be interesting.
That's a really great way to end it then, because we've obviously talked about live, we've talked about community on this episode, and that I think are two really powerful things that are coming out. Obviously, I don't think it's just the isolation element, because I try not to talk about that on this show, and I try and avoid too much focus on that. But I think some of this is powering it and actually having a really positive effect in terms of the way that communities are reacting to stuff, in terms of they're being engaged in the correct way, and they're also getting more live stuff, more in the moment, as opposed to pre-created content. And that's only helping. And that's probably what the market has to move towards, is this community generated and more live in the moment material. It obviously creates a faster pace for everyone to work at, because you have to get it out the door, as you know. We have to get this thing out before it becomes irrelevant. But that is the nature of the beast. Thank you so much for joining me again, Vin. I think that's been a really great chat around those few topics there. We'll be back next week again. And next week, we'll talk more in depth. We have a plan to talk about influencers versus communities. I think there's a really good discussion point there to be had. I know Vin's got some great opinions on this already.
Yeah, I've got some people to destroy.
We'll have to caveat a lot of this stuff with disclaimers, but I think it's a topic we want to talk about, because I think it's a shift that we're seeing in the market a little bit around why people prefer communities to influencers, or where their place is relevant in these different scenarios. But we'll come back to that next week in the content review.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure, Vin. And as always, you can find us at Vincent Hayward on Twitter, and aka Harry Masters on Twitter. And we'll see you in the next one.
See ya.